Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Coach Josh. I want to officially welcome you out again to another episode 5 of my Dating Prep Podcast, a podcast designed to help you date yourself and the love of your life forever. I want to officially welcome you guys out for those who's watching live, those who's watching on Facebook, those who's watching later on YouTube, Instagram, or wherever you find this video. Well, also for those who's listening on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud, I want to welcome you all again to this podcast. I'm excited about today's topic because we're going to talk about the number one killer of relationships. So if you're watching this video live or listening to it live, wherever you listen to or watching it, feel free to pause this video right now so you can be able to download today's worksheets. You can go point by point with me as we navigate some points that will help us both become great, all of us become better communicators. So go ahead and pause this video and we'll see you shortly. But if you got your worksheets right now, let's get right into the problem. I have two problems, one for relationships, those in relationships, and for those who are single. Let's get right to the problem for those in relationships in regards to communication. Confusion and concern has become the climate of a lot of relationships due to poor communication. Confusion, and concern has become the climate of a lot of relationships due to poor communication. This chaotic climate is choking the life out of these relationships. The problem for those in relationships when it comes to number one killer of them is that confusion and concern has become the climate of a lot of relationships due to poor communication. This chaotic climate is choking the life out of these relationships. Let's get to the problem for the singles. Many single individuals have poor communication skills, and it is evident in their prayers and with the people they are around. Many say it how they feel versus feeling what they say before they say it. Both parties are full of emotional communicators and not communicators at ease. There is a proper way of communication. I'm going to repeat that again for those who's taking notes. Many single individuals have poor communication skills, and it is evident in their prayers and with the people they are around. Many say it how they feel versus feeling what they say before they say it. Both parties, single and those in relationships, are full of emotional communicators and not communicators at ease. There's a proper way of communication. There's two types of communicators. You're either an emotional communicator or a communicator at ease. You, through the Spirit of God, have the opportunity to control your emotions, to control the words that you say. The Bible talks a lot about the tongue, that out of it flows, out of it speaks life and death and blessings and curses. And the tongue is such a powerful thing. When it's inflamed by emotions, words can be so heated that it can destroy relationships, that it can cause confusion, that it opens the room for the enemy to come in and sabotage unions. All from something so little as the tongue. How do you communicate? Are you an emotional communicator where you say it how you feel? Or are you a communicator at ease because you know that every idle word that you speak out of your mouth, you'll be judged for? Singles and those in relationships have to really examine their communication skills. Really have to take the time to really look at their lives and say, am I a person at ease when I speak? Or do I speak inflamed by passion and desires? And for those in relationships, it seems that confusion and concerns has become the climate of a lot of them due to poor communication. This chaotic climate is choking the life out of these relationships. So many relationships, the climate, the culture, it's so full of tension. It's so full of confusion and concern that no one's on the same page, that no one agrees on anything, that there's hidden resentments and hidden concerns. And when those concerns do come to the surface, so many people do not know how to dissect them and to deliver them in a way that can be best received. What is the climate of your relationship? Are you more so confused, or are you a person of clarity? Is there chaos in your midst from toxicity, or is there clarity and conciseness and empathy and sympathy? So many relationships fail so many relationships die because of poor communication. The climate of your relationship should be peace and understanding. The climate of your relationship should be full of empathy and mercy and love. And the climate of your relationship should be more than just confusion and concern. Are you concerned today? Are you tense today? Are you walking on eggshells? Are you guys always arguing? And if you're a single person, how is your communication skills? Because your communication skills is evident in your time of prayer and the people that you are around. When you pray, do you always divulge how you feel but never give a listening ear to God? Is the bulk of your prayers 90% you talking and 10% of you listening? Is the bulk of your prayers more self-centered than God-centered? Or ask the people around you about your communication. Do you just say things how you feel and communicate what's on your heart without first seeing just how hot those words really are? Both parties, if not careful, could be full of emotional communicators. God wants you to be at ease when you communicate. There's a process that is best for you to cool your words down, cool your words off before you deliver it. It's best for you to handle how you handle your heart before you spill out of it. It's best for you to examine your words and to make sure that they're tailored to the thought patterns and the truths of another individual. Let's keep going. Let's go to the process of poor communication. Number one, it begins with either an evident conflict, an uncommunicated concern, or the lack of communication skills in general. The process of poor communication begins with either an evident conflict, uncommunicated concern, or the lack of communication skills in general. Evident conflict. Poor communication or a toxic, chaotic relationship or individual is first birthed out of an evident conflict. Most of the things that we don't communicate become bigger than what they needed to be. If you'd have just addressed it in the beginning, instead of being resentful and bitter about it, maybe it wouldn't have caused a hedge or a wedge in your relationship. So many people allow conflict, the evident conflict, a disagreement, differences of opinions, the lack of the ability of agreeing to disagree. They allow their ways to get in the mix of them going in the same direction. And so many people allow evident conflict to cause a stifling in communication, that because you didn't agree with me, just because we don't see things on the same terms, that we get so caught up on today's conflict that we are about championing the causes of the relationship. So many people allow evident conflicts to begin the process of poor communication, which opens the door to a chaotic relationship. Some begins with the uncommunicated concern. So many people hold concerns in their heart and never communicate how they feel. You let the person do the same thing over and over again, but you never communicate. Or you have all this bitterness towards men and bitterness towards women that you never communicate how you really feel about things, or you have yet to process how you even feel. And so many people do not know how to process their thoughts. They don't know how to cast down vain imagination. They don't know how to process their emotions to a place of ease where they're able to see the facts behind their feelings. And when they do never see the facts behind their feelings, they'll begin to flood out of their mouths from a place of frustration instead of a place of faith. We got to get to a place where we say, I'm not going to hold in my heart anything that needs to be aired out to a person that I love. What are you holding in your heart that you never communicated? What expectations, what concerns have been left uncommunicated? You got to speak up for yourself. If it's hurting you, speak up. And if that person doesn't sink in what you speaking out, then you need to leave that relationship if you're not married. Or if you're not willing to, if you're in a situation where you married and you know for a fact that you communicated your concerns, now you got to go to the top floor and go above that person and go to God and ask God to soften their heart and soften their ears, giving them the ability to really hear what you have to say, but never hold it in. You gotta communicate it. And some of us, we have uncommunicated concerns and we have them held in our hearts for so long that when it is time to speak, it's too hot to hold. The reason why poor communication is beginning and the chaotic climate that happens in most relationships is because people just don't know how to communicate in general. People don't know how to process sentences. They don't know how to noun, verb, and all these other components of sentences. They don't know how to express how they feel in a way where it can really hit the person to a changed mind or a changed heart. It begins with either an evident conflict, an uncommunicated concern, or the lack of communication skills in general. Number two, which leads to poor to no communication and or no resolution of conflict. When there's been evident conflict, uncommunicated concern, or poor communication skills, period, it then opens the door to poor communication. God wants us to have proper communication because he understands that when there's people involved, there needs to be specific communication angles that need to be taken so the other person can understand. It shouldn't be about just communicating how you feel. It should be communicating in a way where that other person can understand. In which this right here leads to poor to no communication and or no resolution conflict. Which produces, number 3, no attempt for clarity or reconciliation. When it begins with poor communication skills, when there's no concerns communicated, and when there's evidence of conflict that no one wants to resolve, it then produces no attempt for clarity. You hear this in a lot of relationships. They ain't spoken weeks. They may have said hey and bye, but they really never had no in-depth conversations because someone has closed their heart and began to be disconnected from a person versus really communicating from a place of love. When selflessness is involved in a relationship, then a person knows for a fact, I do not want to be disconnected from serving you, so I'm going to communicate what's on my heart so I can continue serving you. And with my Chick-fil-A customer service, I want to be able to continue to serve you how I can in my position, in my unique personality. Therefore, I have to communicate. And if I'm a selfless person, I'm going to always pick up cues and clues from you on knowing that you're not connected. And when I don't feel like that you're connected, I got to make sure I ask questions like, are you okay? What's wrong? What's bothering you? In my relationship, I do that all the time. It may come off annoying, but I do not like to give the devil any place. If I've done anything, said a phrase that a man may say, but it may not be gently received by a woman, I'm going to ask, are you okay? What's wrong? Did I say anything? Did I make myself clear? Not in no mean way, but did I really make myself clear? Because we got to understand that when you share one thing with another person, there's going to be conflicts. There's going to be disagreements. There's not going to be always understanding. And both people have to understand that they're different. They come from different backgrounds. They process words differently. There are certain things that are triggers. You got to get to a place where you're willing to be humble enough to say, how would you like to receive this? How should I communicate this? What angle must I take? If you're more of an emotional person, I'm more logical. I got to make sure that I don't allow my logistical tone override my true meaning of my words. I got to make sure that I bring my temperament down, my mannerisms down to make sure that you receive what I got to say in love. But when you selfish, you just speak it how you speak it. You say it how you say it. You spray it how you want to spray it. And you don't care about the collateral damage after it. That's not how God wants us to speak. He wants us to solve resolute every conflict in our relationships. And if you don't know how to resolute or resolve conflicts in your single life, you ain't gonna know how to resolve conflicts in your married life. If you don't know how to resolve conflicts during the courting phase, you ain't gonna know how to resolve conflict when you're married. Life is about resolving conflict. It's bringing solutions. We got to get to a place where we really bring solutions, that we don't allow things to happen over and over and over and allowing selfishness to sink our relationships. We got to take a humble temperament and say, how do you like to receive words? How do you like to be communicated to? Because every day in a relationship is a learning experience. That person is always evolving. You're always evolving. And if you're not evolving in your single life, then you're going to stifle the evolvement of someone else and potentially yours. And that's why you got to always evolve, because as you evolve, there's always something new to communicate. There's always something new to find clarity on. There's always something new to understand. Every day I'm asking, where are we? Not necessarily in those terms, but I'm observing, where is my marriage going? Am I doing my part? Am I adjusting and modifying my speech to make sure that it's gentle enough for her to receive, so that as we go forward, I begin to grow in my communication? But when there's evident conflict that hasn't been resolved, concerns not communicated, and a poor level of communication, the quality of the communication begins to sink, and there won't be no resolution of conflict, and then there will be no attempt for clarity or reconciliation. Whatever is not resolved will not open the door for reconciliation. How can two people be reconciled if they do not take the time to both resolve their conflicts? Right now, man, you gotta look for those in relationships. You gotta look at your life and be like, man, is it really a big deal for me to hold on to this? Is it really a big deal not to communicate my concerns? Is it really a big deal not to resolute or resolve these conflicts? Where there's evident conflict, uncommunicated concerns, the lack of communication skills in general, it begins to develop a quality of communication that's poor. And it will begin to leave conflicts with no resolutions. It will then begin to create no attempt in both people to find clarity or reconciliation. The enemy wants y'all under the same roof but in different rooms. He wants you to be up under a roof fighting for a marriage, or not even fighting for it. He wants you to be not in a place of reconciliation, because when you become reconciled, you'll really begin to see the reconciliation of Jesus and his church. You'll begin to see the beauty of disagreements and not same standings. And you'll begin to see the beauty of coming together and becoming one. Not just one in flesh, because if you become one in spirit, you'll become one in soul. And if you become one in soul, you'll become one in mind. If you become one in mind, you'll become one in body. Being one is much more than just sexual intimacy. It's about becoming one spiritually. It's about becoming one mentally. It's about becoming one emotionally. And then the physical intimacy will be even more passionate, because now you guys are more in love with each other's mindset and emotional stability and the compassion and passion and love. But it's all about the curves of the body, and it's all about the size and what he's packing with, more than it is about what he's packing in his mind and the curves of the lining of her brain, because she's filling up with knowledge. When it's more about the body than it is about the soul and the mind and the spirit that's on fire for God, you're going to lose that reconciliation. And when there's no attempt for clarity or reconciliation, you guys up under the same roof, or you separated, or you in your single life, you don't know how to resolve any conflict in your life, and it's your way or the highway, it will lead to confusion and tension being the norm. This right here, which produces no attempt for clarity or reconciliation, will lead to confusion and tension being the norm. How many relationships have you been around where it's tension and confusion is the norm? We don't know who the leader is. Is the wife or is the husband? We don't know if they're in love or not in love. We don't know if they're swingers or if they're in love. We don't know what's going on. There's tension. When they're around each other, she can't smile. That's why I tell men, the fruit of your relationship is evident on the face of your woman. The fruit of your relationship is evident on the face of your woman. If the face of your woman is downcast and sad and it's not bubbly, that's the fruit of your labor. But men who labor in their relationships and they serve their wife can't help but smile. The fruit of your relationship is evident on the face of your woman. And ladies, the fruit of your relationship is evident in the faith of your man. If your man doesn't have faith, then you ain't pushing, you ain't helping, you ain't inspiring. You should be the sole resource that God used to help strengthen that man's faith, saying that he's strong, saying that he's able, encourage him, because it's not easy being a man in this world. The fruit of a man's labor is evident on his woman's face. The evidence of the love of a woman towards a man is evident in the faith of that man. If the face is low and the faith is low, then you may not be laboring correctly. Confusion and tension becomes the norm. And number 5, it births chaos from toxicity. Chaos, anger, words that was not meant to be said but heard. Just chaos everywhere. No intimacy, no love, no engaging. All because of poor communication. And most of these things begin from something so small, but with too much of a high perspective on. Some of us, something so small, we make it so big. Don't make small things too big. Don't make small things bigger than what they need to be. And so many people make small things bigger, and they realize that this milestone, this thing that you allow to sit, this elephant in the room, should have been nothing but an ant in the room. So many of us made ants into elephants, made something small into something big, and what used to be just an ant in the room is not an elephant in the room. And now all of a sudden you walk on eggshells, you tense, you don't know how to navigate. All because you made something so small, so big, or you allowed that uncommunicated concern to grow so big in your heart, or you allowed that evident conflict to sit in the middle of your relationship for so long because both parties don't know how to communicate how they really feel. They're allowing the enemy to come in to cause a disconnect. And when he causes a disconnect, it dilutes the love in their relationship. Now, let's talk about the communication process. There's 3 processes of a communication. We're not just talking about communicating when you're upset or angry. We're just talking about communication, period. Some people, like number 3, the lack of communication skills in general. When a person knows how to communicate how they feel, it brings frustration to the other person. And when you don't know how to communicate and know how to express how you feel, then the person gets lost because they really want to serve you, but you don't know how to really communicate how you feel. Now they're confused on what they need to do. And all of a sudden, there's schizophrenia in your relationship. There's a bipolarism in your relationship. One day you happy, one day you sad, all because you can't communicate how you really feel. Let's talk about the communication process. Number 1, there's a communicator. Number 2, there's words spoken. And number 3, there are receivers and listeners. Communicators, words spoken, and receivers, the communication process. Let's talk about the communicators. The communicators have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things as they communicate. Before they communicate and as they communicate, the communicator harbors these things. The communicator harbors truths, thoughts, theories, temperaments, vocal and body tones, and triggers. Give you time to write that down. Communicators hold, before or as they're speaking, truths, thoughts, theories, temperaments, vocal and body tone, and triggers. Let's talk about truths. As a person is communicating a concern, an expectation, a need, or a want, or something random to some degree, that person is communicating from a place of truths. I put truth and truths. The truth is the truth. And the Bible says the truth will set you free. But not too many people live their life off the truth of God and the truth of His Word. They live life off their truths, what's true to them. Relativism, I think that's the term you use. They communicate from what's true to them. If your truths are not rooted in the truth of God, then those truths are not really true. But when a person communicates, they communicate from a place of truths. This is what's true to me. This is my perspective on this. This is the way I feel about this. And before you communicate anything, you got to make sure your truths are anchored in the truth of God and the truth of His Word. Because so many people are communicating from a place that don't have no root in God, no root in the personality or characteristics that Christ wants you to have in your life. It's anchored in what was passed down from generation to generation, what's passed down throughout culture, what's given and deposited through social media. Many people's truths are not anchored in the truth of God. And many people, when they communicate, they're communicating from an angle of truths. This is what's true to me. But if it ain't true to God, you could be causing confusion to the receiver because you're coming from a place of truth that may not be anchored in God's truth. Now, there are some truths that's true. Like, yo, I was there. I saw this. I seen this. I noticed this. That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about the internal, deep down in your heart, truths, values, standards, convictions, truths, thoughts. As a person is communicating, those words are coming from preconceived thought patterns, that the path of their words is followed by or pushed by previous thoughts. That's why you can't entertain every thought. You got to cast down vain imagination before you speak out vain words. Before you give out vain words, you got to make sure you cast out. Before you speak any word, you got to make sure those words are valid. And those words become valid when you have processed those words and put into shackles words that don't deserve the thoughts that don't deserve to be there. But so many people communicate from thoughts that ain't even true. We've been there. You heard someone say something about someone, about you, and all of a sudden now you got resentment against that person. And then when you actually communicate with that person said, I never said it. You can't entertain everything that's been spoken to you. You can't entertain everything that you feel or think is going on. You got to make sure you're man enough and woman enough to communicate with that person. So many people allow lies to be spoken to them and they begin to make that thing a truth. And those things begin to build thought habits and patterns against another person when that thing ain't even been true. There's so many people that look at me and they think I'm a certain way, but they never came to my face. I never respect a man or a woman who can talk behind my back or entertain lies, but are unwilling to communicate face to face with me and say, Josh, this is how I feel about you. This is what I've heard about you. Most people are not man enough and woman enough to come to your face and communicate honestly about how they feel or how they've been thinking. And so many people, they wait until they allow their hearts to become so heated, and then they want to, or so hardened. So many people wait till they'll hear a lie about you or they'll hear something about you, and they'll allow their heart to become either too heated or too hard towards you. And then 5, 6, 8 months later, they come to you talking, I heard this about you, and you look at them and say it ain't even true. It happens in relationships because he looks a certain kind of way, because he moves a certain kind of way, or she picked up her phone this way. All of a sudden now your thoughts go in a frenzy, and now you begin to damn her. All of a sudden now you begin to make him guilty, and there's no evidence of guilt. We can't get into a place where we allow thoughts to determine how we think about a person without having the guts and being a man or woman to actually go speak to them and communicate, to make sure before my heart gets heated and before my heart gets hard, I got to make sure that the words that I heard about you or the things that I'm thinking about you is true. But so many people communicate from preconceived thoughts that's not even true. You're not supposed to entertain every thought, because if you entertain every thought, you're going to allow yourself, then you're going to be entertaining those thoughts, and then you're going to be engaging outward from those thoughts, and you may be causing a wedge or a hedge in your relationship that was never meant to be there. Communicators, as they communicate, they're communicating from a place of truths. They're communicating from thoughts. They're also communicating from theories. Theories can kind of go with truths. Theories that are not even made valid. That's why you hear things about the theory of gravity, the theory of whatever. They're theories. They haven't been proven scientifically to be true. And so many people get so caught up in theories. Well, I heard this. This is how I calculate this. This is how I process this. But if your mind hasn't been pruned by God, you will begin to develop theories that's not even true for relationships. Theories, this is how relationships should go. This is how marriage should go. This is how theories, these are theories, they haven't been proven. Do not entertain anything that hasn't been proven in your mind. So many people are entertaining things mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, and they haven't been proven to be true. They're just theories. It looks like it makes sense. I heard this from a pastor. I read this in an article. My grandmama told me about this, but it was theories. Has it been proven to be true for you? But so many people communicated from theories that have been passed down. Traditional theories. Theories that have been given through quote-unquote experts. Just because someone have a DR before their name doesn't mean they're really able to do surgery. Does not mean they're really able to help you. Just because a person has degree after degree, just because a person knows this person, that person, just because a person looks the part doesn't mean they can actually fix the parts. But so many people, they communicate from theories. Temperaments. Most of these things produce a temperament. So many people communicate when it's too hot to communicate. Their temperament is off. I think this way about you. You came against my truths. You're doing things that's tinkering around my theories, and now I have a temperament. Now I got an emotional feeling about you. Now I'm upset, and now I'm approaching you upset. Never approach a person upset. Sometimes you got to make sure you go away and make sure you cool things off. Make sure that you taste the words first. Make sure that you don't go off, because it's very embarrassing to have this emotional expression when after you have expressed how you emotionally feel, that person gives you the facts that proves you were incorrect. So many people have the wrong temperament in their communications. Next, vocal and body tones kind of go with temperaments. You got to watch your tone when you communicate. Some people just communicate and they're like, that's just how I sound. But if you're a New Yorker coming to the South and you sound how you sound, you're going to offend people. Or if you go to New York and you go certain places, you don't know how to talk to the people, you're going to offend them. You got to make sure you communicate in a tone that's tailored to your receiver. But so many people are like, hey man, this is how I sound, this is how I'm going to speak, this is how I'm going to talk, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's fan up. This is what I'm going to do. This is my tone, this is how I speak, this is my body language. You crossing your arms, you got your back towards them. You gotta understand, no matter who you're talking to, every person is made in the image of God, and they deserve dignity and they deserve respect. And if you're not in a place, if you're not in a respectful place, then it's probably not the best time for you to communicate. But so many people want to communicate disrespectfully. Their tone is different. They talking down. That's why, men, you got to make sure that you're not talking loud to women. They're not going to be able to take loudness. They can't take yelling. And ladies, you got to make sure you don't talk down to a man. When a woman feels that she's being yelled at, or a man feels like he's being talked down to, that person ain't going to receive what you're saying. You got to make sure your vocal and your body tone is correct. If it's not correct, then go correct it and then come back to the conversation to add some value to it. You also got to make sure that you communicating that your body is not conflicting your words. You giving sexual body communications, but your words not matching your body, and now you're throwing the person off. He thinking that you like him, or you being flirtatious. Your body tone is giving off one expression, but your words is giving off another. But when that person asks you out on a date, all of a sudden you're looking at them confused, but you've been expressing in a tone, in a temperament, in body tone, and in a tone that's confusing the other person. It goes to every angle of life. You got to just observe, how do I communicate with people? Is my tone too, let me study my region. Let me look at the people that I'm around. How does my niece receive it? How does my nephew receive it? How does my wife receive it? How does my siblings receive it? How does my mom receive it? How does my dad? Everybody, when I'm around certain kids, I know I can be louder with other kids, but I know that there's certain kids, you don't know, if you know their background, the more you know, the better you can communicate. But people not willing to get to know. They just want to communicate how they feel. And then they set themselves up to kill their relationships. Sometimes your feel kills. Sometimes what you feel kills. And you got to make sure that you know how to, through the fruit of the Spirit, know how to operate in your self-control. Next is triggers. Some people communicate from their triggers. They're reactive. You say something to me, I'm just triggering. If I think this, I'm triggering. I'm trigger fingers. I'm just clapping back. I don't care about the clatter. You trigger me and I'm going off. Man, you can't just be easily triggered. Be very careful who handles you, because whoever handles you will be able to pull the trigger of you. And so many people are giving our lives in the hands of people that when they push you in a certain way, you shooting off. Do not allow people too high of a place in your life where they dictate how you express your feelings. There shouldn't be no one on this planet, to a degree, that should make you come out of character. There shouldn't be. You can't allow people. Now, you're going to have bad days, don't get me wrong. But when you come out of character, you got to correct that quickly. Do not give people the power to get you out of character. Do not give people the power to get you out of character. Stay you. Stay in your character traits. Do not allow people to flood you into your previous character flaws, and now you're expressing in a way that embarrasses the call that you've been called, embarrasses the Christ who has called you, and embarrasses your commitment and your faithfulness or whatever you're doing. It's best to get your emotions under control now, so that the only person that's holding you is the Holy Spirit of God, and you only shoot with words that are anointed, and your bullets are not hollow, but they're heavy with the word of God. But whoever handles you knows how to pull your trigger. Make sure it's the Spirit of God holding you, so that when it's time for you to shoot, you shoot things that fits the occasion, that's good for the building up, etc. Let's keep going. Number 2. Words spoken. When the words have been spoken, there's 3 things that's happening as that word is spoken. Intentional meaning, real meaning, received meaning. Intentional meaning, real meaning, received meaning. Intentional meaning means, this is what I intended to say. You know what I'm saying? These were my intentions. But sometimes those intentions are intensified with emotions. The intentional meaning. Sometimes when you're upset and you're angry, or you're frustrated, disappointed, or you're excited and happy, you begin to speak in a way that may be sporadic, that may be out there, and you had good intentions, it just came out wrong. And when a word comes out, those words have real meanings. So you had an intentional meaning. You just got to make sure your intended words matches to their realest meaning, so that when a person hears it, they actually understand what you're saying. Intentional meaning is, like I said, you intended, you had great intentions, but it was delivered wrong, or it was delivered right, but that person received it wrong. Next is the real meaning. Every word has real meanings. You got to make sure how people really receive them. That's why it's best to make sure you communicate clear, concise words, and you can only do that from a calm place. And when you're chaotic and emotional, erratic, overly prideful, those words come out with real meaning. And next, received meaning. The receiver received it, but it was hot. It was confusing. It wasn't clear. So when a communicator communicates, they got to make sure their words, their intended words, are really real, and in their realness is tailored to the receiver. Let's keep going. 3, the receiver. The receiver of words, or listener, they also have triggers. You have to be mindful that people have triggers too. And as you speak in these words, you got to make sure that you're not triggering on purpose. Now, I say on purpose. Now, there's going to be some situations where you say things and you're not held responsible how people receive. Not everybody's going to receive good words or convicting words correctly. That's why I preach the way I preach, because I'm like, hey, the word of God is going to fall on whatever ground your heart is. And I'm not responsible to a degree how every word comes out. I am responsible how words come out, but I'm not always responsible by how words receive. If I know that I gave it in truth and in love. But if I give it out and it's not, and it's on purpose to trigger you, I'm in the wrong. You got to know your receiver of your words has triggers. Also, they also have theories. You know your receiver got theories as well. They got thoughts as well. They have a temperament as well. They have truths as well. You got to make sure you communicate keeping those things in mind. And as a listener, you got to make sure you know, man, I'm going to communicate when I feel triggered. I'm going to let you finish, but after you finish, I'm going to communicate. Those kind of words trigger me. Those kind of words make me feel a certain type of way. Those words offend me. Those words hurt me. Also, you got to make sure as a receiver, as a listener, that you also see, could my theories be wrong? You also got to be mindful as a receiver. I'm not going to allow my thoughts to run before I take time to listen to their words. Sometimes we allow our thoughts to come to try to solve the problem or try to rebuttal their need or concern, and versus just letting our mind be at ease and be intentionally involved in listening. I got to make sure I control my temperament as a receiver of words, and also the giver of words. You got to make sure that people have a temperament. If you know for a fact that, hey, he's not in a good mood, she's not in a good mood, people be like, I just got to say how I feel. I'm going to say when I say it. No, it ain't about saying what you mean. It's not about saying what you want to say when you say it, because the best words are received when they're receivable. Words are best received when they're receivable. You got to be smart enough to say, you know what? He's tired. He's tired. He's hungry. She's frustrated. She just got off work. I'm not going to communicate this right now, because I know her temperament is not in a receivable position. I know his temperament is not in a receivable position. Also, your receiver has truths. They have values, they have standards and convictions. And when you tiptoe around those things and you nudge those things, or you punch those things, or you jab at those things, that person may spit out as well. Let's keep going. There are 3 kinds of words. 3 kinds of words spoken at all times. Hollow words, heated words, helpful words. Hollow words, heated words, helpful words. Let me read these 2 scriptures real quick, because they really give us insight as for the rest of the points. The scriptures in the far right corner is Ephesians 4:29 and James 1:19 through 20. Let me read these real briefly. Let me get back to my notes. Again, I said there are 3 kinds of words: hollow words, heated words, helpful words. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to the hearer. James 1:19 through 20. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, for the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. I will break those down a little bit later, but I want to kind of interject those now, just in case I jump into them a little later. There are three kinds of words. There's hollow words, heated words, helpful words. Hollow words are words with no meaning. They have meaning, but your authenticity gives those words value. If a person doesn't have a corresponding actions that correlates with the words that they're expressing, those words become hollow. But just because a word is hollow doesn't mean a person doesn't take those words as helpful. You got to make sure that every word that you speak is not idle, that every word that you speak, it has a purpose. You got to make sure that every word that you speak is good for building up, that every word you speak builds up the person. It doesn't tear them down. You got to make sure that your words always fits the occasion. That takes discipline to speak what fits the occasion. It says, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths. How does corrupting talk come out of your mouth? From allowing yourself to be under corruptible influences. When you're up under corrupting influences, you will have a corrupting speech. And that's why the Bible is challenging us. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths. I mean, that's our responsibility. It is my responsibility that I do not allow anything to come out of my mouth that will corrupt me, that will corrupt another person, that will corrupt the call on my life. I got to make sure, because the Bible says out of the mouth, life and death comes from the mouth, comes from your tongue. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Your tongue has power. Your tongue gives clearance. And when you begin to have corrupting nature and your carnal nature begins to feed off the corrupting nature around it, then you'll begin to speak damning things that begins to corrupt your life. Man, I just want to die. I feel like giving up. I can't do this. Now you're corrupting yourself. You talking bad about the other person. You're no good. You never do things right. You suck at this. Now you're corrupting them. Or you corrupting your call. You're saying that I'm insignificant, I'm unqualified, I'm unable. Now you're corrupting things because you allow yourself to be under corrupting influences. That's why you got to make sure that every word that you speak builds up people. There's a way of expressing how you feel that builds up the person as well. I'll get to that a little bit later. But you got to make sure that everything that you speak builds up the person. Next, you got to make sure that it fits the occasion. Some people be talking, it don't even fit the occasion. You at the cookout talking theology and don't fit the occasion. Sometimes theology doesn't fit the occasion. Some of us, we're rejoicing when it's a weeping occasion. Some people are weeping in a rejoicing occasion. You got to make sure you are disciplined with your words, that you know how to be a wordsmith and specifically spit your words that fits the occasion. It takes perspective. It takes selflessness to make sure that your words fits the occasion. Everywhere you go, you got to make sure that you're always in alert of how my words can fit this occasion. I'm not talking about dirty talk. I'm not talking about corrupting talk. I ain't talking about stuff like that. We're just talking about words that fits the occasions for the glory of God to be manifested, for the character of Christ to be noticed, and for there to be help. And also you got to make sure that what you say gives grace to the hearer. Grace to the hearer means, I can see why you did that. Maybe I should make adjustments in my life. You know what? I'm going to pray for you. You know what? No, don't worry about it. We're going to get through this. I'm going to say words that will encourage you and give grace to the hearer. Like, man, you really understand me? The center of all communication must be understanding. Any word that is not backed by understanding when it comes to couples, when it comes to loved ones, are hollow words. Unknowledgeable people over there saying that they love someone when they don't even know what love is. Experience is key. Understanding is key. When you understand a person, you will work hard to make sure that they're understood. Let's keep going. 3 kinds of words. Hollow. Words with no authenticity, no understanding, no empathy, no significance, no purpose, no anointing, no passion, no fire of God. Hollow, just empty. Making promises you're not keeping. Words with no corresponding actions. Saying that you love a person but your actions don't match that you love them. Saying that you're going to be there for a person but you're not going to be there. It's okay not to say something. It's okay not to say, like I used to be guilty of that. Early on And even recently I have to be careful because I'm such a compassionate person. I'll tell a kid I'll be there. I'll tell a kid I'll do it. And I have all the intentions to do it, but life gets in the way. I've made a habit when I make a promise to a kid that the next day or the next time I see him, I explain to why I wasn't there on time. And for most kids, they're not going to understand it because they're going to be like, you supposed to be there, but they don't know the duties of your job. But when it comes to adults, when it comes to my wife, when it comes to my family, I make sure that I honor my word to the best of my ability and ability. But if something gets in the way, I've learned that even if something gets in the way, I got to make sure I still honor my word. And if I can't, I got to communicate to that person why. But some of us, we lack integrity. We just say things. We just say we're going to do this. We're going to say we're going to do that. And what I was guilty of, and I got to make sure I don't become guilty of again, is I blame it on charge to my head, not my heart. Charge, I forgot. No. Before you commit to something, see if you really have the ability to do it. Let's keep going. Heated words. Some words are just heated, intensified, full with passion, full with emotion, heated. And the last one, helpful. Are your words, are the bulk of your words hollow? Are the bulk of your words heated? Or are the bulk of your words helpful? Let's keep going. I have some points here that kind of goes with what we're talking about. Words are best received when they have cooled off. Words are best received when they have cooled off. That's important to understand. Oh man, I forgot to let you guys know. This conversation, this podcast came from my card game, Dating Prep. And one of the questions in my game was up under the family tree portion of the card. And it says, how will we communicate our concerns or fears as a family? This question is very important for you to communicate with your significant other as you grow in your relationship. How will we communicate our concerns or fears as a family, as a union, as a unit? If you do not give clearance for that climate of communication to be expressed, then you're going to cause your relationship to be stifled. And so many people, they don't create a culture of communication. Don't talk to me. Don't bother me. I don't want to hear it right now. It's always a no. There's a statistic out there that says that most kids hear no before they graduate college. They would have heard no 100,000 or so times, and they would have only heard yes a couple of thousand times. That's crazy. When you've heard no more than you've heard yes, and you've been denied versus giving clearance to, it affects the psyche and the security of a person. You got to create a culture of, I'm going to allow you to express your concerns peacefully, etc. Let's keep going. Words are best received when they have cooled off. Next point. Words can be forgiven, but words can't be forgotten. That's important. That's important. I can forgive what you say, but I may not forget what you have said. There's people who have spoken behind my back, have done things to me or said things bad about me or etc. They've come back to me and apologized, admitted. They said, Josh, hey man, I've said these things, it's true. I forgave them, but I didn't forget. It doesn't mean that I view them in a negative way. The relationship just can't be the same anymore. Certain words can really drastically affect the relationship for decades. And you can't allow yourself to get so hot, so heated. You didn't allow your words to cool off. Now you called her outside of her name. You done cussed her out. You done cussed him out. You done talked about who he is and tore him down, tore her down. And then all of a sudden now you want sex the next night? All of a sudden now you want them to make you pancakes and eggs the next day? You expect them to serve you? It may take them a while to forgive you because you affected their value system. You affected their security system. You affected who they feel about themselves. And now you want forgiveness. And now you're trying to express to that person, I didn't really mean that. Man, but what you didn't mean to say came off really mean. And you got to make sure you understand that words can be forgiven, but they cannot be forgotten. And you can't get upset necessarily if the relationship is kind of funny for a period of time. Words can be forgiven, but they can't be forgotten. Chew your words before you spit them out. Chew them first. There's nothing wrong with pausing. When you hear something, there's nothing wrong. You don't have to always spit out. You don't have to be a trigger finger. You don't got to be a trigger mouth, a trigger tongue. You just, as soon as you feel it, you spit out. No. You can't make that a habit. So many people in their single life have made that a habit. You see it on Twitter. You see it in life where people are just so quick to say it. This is how I feel. I'm out. This is how I feel. I'm mad. I'm mad. Here's how I feel. And not knowing that, man, I should have chewed that first. You know how moms and dads do that to their kids when they're infants? They chew the food first to cool it off and then give it to their child because they know this is too hot for them to bear it. You got to know what is too hot for a person to bear. You got to be wise enough, discerning enough. You got to ask Holy Spirit, deepen my discerning, deepen my connection with people. So that, listen, I pride myself in that. I always tell the Holy Spirit, when I walk in a room, allow me to feel the temperature of the room. Help me to be able to be, what is it called? Let me be is it a thermostat or a thermometer? Let me be a thermostat, God. Let me be where I can change the temperature of the room. That when I'm in there, I'm not a thermometer where I can tell you the temperature. You got people, I'll tell you the temperature. It's hot in here. Oh man, I'm out. It's hot. Oh, it's cold up. No. I want to be a thermostat wherever I go, where I can change the temperature of any room because I'm humble enough to be able to say, God, help me to feel the hearts of the people around me. And in that, I walk in a room, I'll know something about that person. You okay? Do I have words for you that can fit this occasion? Do I have words to help build you up? Do I have words to give grace to you, power to you, mobilize, inspire you? The Holy Spirit can give you that type of nature where you're able to, what was once 88 degrees, that was the climate of the room, has now been brought down to 68, has been cooled off because you know how to say words that fits the occasion. Listen, a soft anger turns away wrath. You got to know how to just be soft and gentle. It's best being soft and gentle doesn't mean you losing the conversation. Everybody wants to be debaters. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to debate, but nobody wants to offer anything. Nobody wants to cool things off. You got to be strategic. You got to play chess in this checkers game. You got to be able to think 3 moves ahead. You got to be able to say, you know what, if I say it like this and say it like that, I know I ain't going to be able to get this in return. I know that if I do it like this and say it like this, and I know it's going to offend her. When you know that you're a thermometer, I think it's a thermostat, you're able to set the temperature and the tone of the room. You can change away wrath and bring in peace. We are supposed to be peacemakers. Our shoes are supposed to be shod with the preparation of peace. That wherever we go, there should be peace. Peacemakers understand how to bring peace. Chew your words before you spit them out. Next, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. How many suns have gone down without you communicating how you feel? If you let too many hours go by, wrath will build. Tension in your heart will build. All of a sudden, that person, you ever been in situations where you did something, you know you did something? You know you did something, but that person didn't communicate what you did? What was cool to them was an attack against you. But not everybody knows what are your triggers. Not everybody knows your theories. Not everybody knows your truths. Not everybody knows your thoughts. Not everybody knows all these different things. And as you grow in a relationship, a person begins to know these things. And what they may have done, they may have forgot to pick up the clothes. They may have forgot to do something. And you may have told them many times. You may have whatever. Or you felt like you said something, but you didn't really say it. And then all of a sudden you get mad at that person. But you held on it for like 4 sons. 5 sons done went down. The sun done went down in your life 6 or 7, 8 days. That the moment they left the cup on the counter, all of a sudden you go off. And now the person's confused, like, why are you going off for? What did I do? Well, you did this 2.5 weeks ago. And that person's like, then why didn't you tell me then? When you let many suns go down, your wrath builds, and then little thing that person does triggers you, and now they're getting judged, or now they're getting punished for something heavy, for something that could have been light if you would have communicated earlier. It's best to say, if I'm offended against you today, I'm going to come see you today. Before that sun goes down, before it gets midnight, I'm going to make it right. The Bible says before you offer your offering to God, leave it at the altar and make sure you go to your brother and reconcile with your brother. If you got any ought against your brother, your wife, your son, your daughter, your husband, your boo, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or whatever, he said, don't come to church on Sunday and you've yet to handle the wrath of Saturday. Don't come with hands trying to worship me and you still got wrath and anger in your heart. The Bible talks about if you have hate in your heart, you have the ingredients of a murderer. That if you keep harboring that in your heart, you may murder. You may actually be triggered into slapping somebody, stabbing somebody, shooting somebody, damning somebody with your words. Most people don't murder people physically, they murder people's character. Some people, they so mad at somebody, they murder their character. And if someone's murdering your character right now, keep being faithful in your character, and your character will prove their murderous words untrue. Don't let the sun go down to your wrath, man. If you feel something, say something. If you thinking something, say something. And don't wait till 2 weeks of suns have gone down, and then one little thing they did trigger something, and now they held in contempt of, man, what did I do? But you done got 3 journal entries full of what they did. You communicated in your journal more than you communicated with the person that you're upset with. Now, I have some points real quickly. I have 4 boxes that I'm going to go through, and I'm out your way. I really pray and I really hope this is helping. Oh, let me make sure I read James 1:19-20. He said, know this, my beloved brothers and sisters, let every person, he didn't say some. It didn't say most. It said let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of God has not produced the righteousness of God. It takes the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit alone to make you a quick hearer and a slow speaker and a slow person to anger. Only the Spirit of God can do that. You need to listen. No human being on this planet has the tranquility or the peace outside the Holy Spirit and engage with Him to be quick to hear. You may find yourself like that in certain seasons, but really not to be triggered, to go to anger, not to raise your voice, not to be upset. It takes days and weeks and months to commune with the Spirit of God where you're able. And if you do find yourself in a moment where you're tired or you're irritable, you're frustrated, you're able to reel in quicker. I'm not saying you're going to be perfect every time, but you'll know how to perfectly handle the imperfections. That's the beautiful thing about the Spirit of God. When you engage Him, even if you do something imperfect, immediately you know how to perfect the imperfect act. You'll be like, you know what, baby, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Forgive me. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Oh, let me remove myself. Let me walk away. Because before I get mad, let me reverse it. When I play ball, oh man, when I play basketball, people be trying my basketball intelligence. People be trying my basketball IQ. People be trying me, and they'll foul you, they'll push on you, they'll try you. And that old Josh will come up, and I may say something, but I'll be like, you know what, bro, my bad. Your ball. I'll express sometimes frustration, anger, and upsetness because I'm competitive. But because I commune with the Holy Spirit, I can rebound. But I promise you, I guarantee there have been days where I went maybe 2 or 3 days without spending time with God or really not communing with the Holy Spirit. That arguments on the court went longer than what they should. That my turnaround time was not as quick as it used to be. That's why it's an everyday walk with God. Your communication level is predicated on how often you communicate with God, how you communicate with yourself, and how you communicate with others, how you communicate with your calling or your dream. It's a direct reflection of how you communicate with God. Because the more you engage with Him, the better your communication becomes. Because your communications will be more infused by a perspective of empathy. You'll be able to have an understanding, an angle, a perspective, an ease. You won't be an emotional communicator. You will be a communicator at ease. All right, let's go to communication must be real quickly. I've been going for an hour now. But communication must be these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things. Communication must be clear. Number one, must be clear. You can't be clear when you're yelling. You can't be clear when you're frustrated and emotional. You can't be clear. If you're not able to speak clearly, it's not time to communicate. Communication must be concise. You can't be going on in tangents all the time. Some communication points have to be concise. Concise means, hey, I'm looking at your temperament. I know you got to be at work. I know you got to do this. And I know this is going on. I'm going to be concise. I'm going to be specific. I'm going to be short. I'm going to give it to you right. I'm going to package this thing the way you need it and we move it. So many people, they want to talk 5 or 50 circles around, and you asked a question 50 minutes ago and they ain't answer your question until 48 minutes later, 52 minutes later. Concise. There's sometimes where you're gonna have to listen, man. Fellas, you're gonna listen. Ladies, they talk. I talk too, but ladies, they talk in circles. But you gotta be in love enough. You gotta no, not I'm saying in love enough. You just gotta be committed enough to say, I'm gonna listen. But there are certain seasons, certain points, ladies and gentlemen, where your communication has to be concise. Next, your communication has to be correct. It has to come correct, and it has to actually be correct. Some people just communicate lies. Well, I thought you did it, but that's not correct. Well, this is how I feel, but that's not correct. Well, that ain't biblical. Well, I'm just gonna do what Jesus do that. Well, I'm just gonna communicate. No. It has to be correct. He said every idle word. It has to come off correct. Next, your communication must be considering. Before I say my words, before I speak, I gotta consider you. The Bible says, trust the Lord with all your heart, lean not into your understandings, but in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your paths. Acknowledgement is key. When I acknowledge God, I speak differently, I think differently, I move differently, because I acknowledge Him. What would God think about this? What does the Word of God say about this? How does God feel about this? And when I acknowledge Him, the more my paths become straight, because I actually considered Him. When you communicate with a person, consider her, consider him, consider their feelings, their temperament, their theories, their truths, their background, were they a middle child, were they the first child, were they the baby of the family, were they the only child. You got to consider all those different things, and I promise you when you do, your communication will be received better, unless they're just a crazy person. And there are some crazies out there. Your communication must be complete. You can't just be having half sentences. The communication has to be full. You have to express how you truly feel. You got to make sure that what you're saying is complete. Don't be out here just communicating stuff and it hasn't been complete. You got commas where there need to be periods. You ain't even got to the periods yet. You just left the sentence by itself. Your communication has to be complete. You got to make sure you completely give off what you really are trying to say. Your communication must be connected. Another word for considering. Your communication must connect. You just can't be communicating English to a Spanish speaker. It's not going to connect. You can't communicate Spanish to an English speaker. It's not going to connect. You can't speak a way of theology to a babe. You got to communicate in a way that it connects. You got a humble person is able to come a few steps down to where you are and talk into a way that you understand. That's real love. If you really want people to run and you done wrote the vision and made it plain, how can people run if you haven't made it plain into a level where it connects with them? Don't be so overly deep in a simple world. So many people be so deep. And only people that you cool around are people who are deep like you. Man, there's a time to be deep and there's a time to be regular. You know what I'm saying? Your communication must be connected, or it must connect. Your communication must be creative. It must be creative. How do you communicate your love? You can't communicate your love the same way over and over again and expect your wife to blossom and your husband to broaden his shoulders. You got to be creative with your communication. You got to be able to communicate your love in a creative way. Communicate how you feel in a creative way that drives home. Some people learn from visuals. Some people learn audibly. Some people learn visually. Some people learn practically. And you got to be creative. You got to make sure that you drive the point home where people can receive. Also, your communication must be, or your communication must have, corresponding actions. What's the point of communicating if you don't have corresponding actions? There has to be actions that correspond with the words that you're saying, or people are, or your credit score as far as your words will fall down. Eric Thomas said that. I heard him say in a video. He says, "What's your credit score when it comes to people?" We're not talking about your credit score in the world. We're talking about with your name. How valuable is your name out here? When you say things, do people take it to the bank, or do they throw it away in trash cans? Because when they know you say something, they take it a certain kind of way. Now, delivery, let's go to the first box to the left. The box to the left. Delivery and communication is important. And in order to avoid miscommunication, you must consider the following things. Delivery and communication is important. And in order to avoid miscommunication, you must consider who you are talking to, what you're going to say, when you're going to say it, where you're going to say it, why are you saying it, how will you say it, and to what extent are you going to say it. Delivery is important when it comes to communication. And in order to avoid miscommunication or poor communication, I, you, we, us must consider who we are talking to. What we said before, their triggers, their truths, their theories, their thoughts, their background, whether they're a middle child, bottom, the psychology of an only child, the psychology of a firstborn, the psychology of a middleborn. You gotta consider some things. And if you love a person, you'll take time to consider. You'll take time to ask, who are you? How do you like to receive communication? And you will stay humble enough to communicate always in a way that they receive it. Next, you gotta say what you're going to say. Before you communicate anything, you got to say, who am I talking to? Who are they like? What are they like? Next, I have to communicate before I communicate, what am I going to say? Sometimes it's best before you communicate a person to write down what you're going to say and bring that paper with you. If you know you're going to have a challenging conversation with someone, or you're nervous about it, you don't know what they're going to say, write down what you're going to say. It's okay to put your heart on paper. Because when you put your heart on paper, then you get a chance for the mind of God and the Spirit of God to say, take this sentence out. You don't need to say, that's not biblical, that's not right, that's not correct, that doesn't fit the occasion, that's not going to build them up, that's not going to give grace to her. That's going to make that person quick to anger, quick to talk. Consider what you're going to say. You got to consider when you're going to say it. Man, if they just got home and they're tired, that's probably the wrong time to talk. It's probably the wrong time to talk to a person when they're hungry, when they just got home, or I ain't gonna say the other word. When they're sexually charged. You know what I'm saying? Like, those probably the wrong times, man. It's probably the wrong time when you know that a person is going through a hurtful experience. It's probably the wrong time when a person is in the middle of something else. Now, if it's something that trumps some of those things, then you have the right as a wife and a husband. But you got to say, you know what? Let me give him a plate to eat first. Let me let her relax for a little bit, and then I'm going to communicate. I tell this to every person. It's best to just make sure a person is calm and ready to receive and put you on game. It's hard for a person to be disconnected from you if you don't serve them first. It takes humility to do this. It takes humility to serve even when you have hurt to express. But or whatever to express. Put a cooked meal before them. Ladies, sit on his lap if you're married. Offer service. Offer act of kindness first. Take them from a place of tension and uneasiness. Bring them into a place of calmness. And then when you found them with a belly full and a back rubbed and love expressed, then you can communicate how you feel. Later on, I'm going to talk about the communication sandwich. I can talk about it now. Celebrate, critique, celebrate. Create a climate where you're serving first, you're considering first. And then when you sat on his lap, or you done gave him a meal, or you done ran her bath water, and you done did all these things, you done rubbed her back, then you celebrate them. You know what? You're doing a real good job, man. I love when you do this. Man, you're awesome when you do this. But there's some things that are kind of bothering me, babe. You know, I love you, man. You are amazing, man. You provide, find something good that they do. You love me, babe. You really take care of things. But there's some things that bothers me. I don't like it when you say things like this. What you did yesterday kind of really affected me, babe. And while you expressing your critique, you look them in their eyes and you express from love that I celebrate you, that I love you. And then when you critique them, then you add another celebratory statement like, babe, but babe, I know you're doing your best. I know you work hard. I know, babe, you get busy around tax season. Babe, I know, but you great, but I'm just making sure you understand my heart. And I promise you, when their belly is full and their back has been rubbed, the bath water has been set, act of kindness has been expressed, and they have been calm, they'll receive your critique softly, and they will actually, if they're a good-hearted person that loves and fears God and loves and honors you, they'll make changes. But when they come home, you hit them, and when you ain't even made nothing, you ain't did nothing, you just hit them hard, you expecting to blow up. When you're going to say it, where are you going to say it? You can't say certain things in the living room. You about to break up with a man in your living room. You don't know how he's going to take it. He might start swinging on you. He might get mad and start hurting you. He might rape you. You don't know what's going to happen. You got to consider where you say these things. The best things to say certain things is privately, publicly. Privately, publicly is the best way to say things. A bench that's off to the side, that's private, but it's in a public arena. It's not always good to communicate certain things to a person that you may not know their temperament. We're talking about those in the cloud phase and the cement phase. And you know when it's time to break up, you know it's time to shut it down. You can't communicate certain things privately. So I'm not going to communicate things privately, publicly. That's why you can't always invite people to your home. You can't let people know where you work and where you live. You can't let people know certain things because you people crazy. That's why I leave that dating stuff, that relationship stuff with God, so that you won't be with a crazy. Everybody got some craziness in them. See, I ain't saying everybody crazy. You know what I mean? Being human, bring some humor to this. But people crazy out here, man. You breaking up with certain people. People have lost their lives communicating privately. Sometimes you got to communicate privately, publicly. Where you're going to say it. Why are you saying it? What's your motives? Are you manipulative, or are you really ready to modify or really change if a person does say something truth that may go against your truths, or may have a theory, thoughts that or whatever that could bring common ground? Why are you saying it? Are you saying this to gain more control in the relationship? Are you saying this to tear them down? Are you saying this because you want to manipulate that man to get you something for Christmas? Are you saying this because you want to manipulate your woman to give you sex? Why are you saying it? Are you saying hollow words to get her with her legs open? Are you saying hollow words just to get his wallet open? Why are you saying these things? How will you say it? You know what? Let me make sure my hollow words become full, not full of heat, but full of help. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to really examine how I'm going to say this. Last but not least, to what extent are you going to say it? Man, ain't nobody got time to listen to certain things for no 2 hours. To what extent, man? Like, are you gonna continue to say the same thing over and over again and not observing the change that person is doing? You're saying stuff, but that person, you don't know what challenges is keeping that person from growing. But if you see some growth, celebrate the 1%. Don't have expectation of, well, you should be 16%. Now, when it comes to certain things, they better be on their game. So many people don't even observe the growth, the little growth that a person is doing. They just keep saying the same thing over and over again, or they say it for a long period of time and the person's like, I got it, I heard you. But when you say those words, when you say I got it and I heard you got to make sure that you have corresponding actions that you heard, or they will keep bringing it up over and over again. And you better, when a person brings it up, they actually mean they care about the relationship. When they become silent, that's when you should worry. Next box. Before you speak, in the next box, while you listen. S-P-E-A-K, speak. I think that's how you spell it. S-P-E-A-K. And then I'm going to have an acronym for listen. I'm out your way. I'm going long today. but I had a lot of great points that I wanted to give you. Before you speak, seek inside. Seek inside, seek for potential demonic interference, and seek for their intentions. Before you speak, seek inside. Am I doing something? Did I trigger them to be this way? Did I even communicate this expectation that I'm furious about that they're not meeting? Before I speak this, man, let me seek inside. Before I say I love them, let me make sure I seek inside. Do I really love them? Before I speak out my love or speak out my anger or speak out my commitment, am I able to do it? Before you speak that you're going to do something for somebody, seek inside and say, am I able to do it? Next, you got to seek for potential demonic interference. Is there a demon in the midst? The Bible says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and wickedness in high places, demons. Is there a demonic interference? Am I irritable because I'm irritable, or am I irritable because of demonic interference? Is there demons causing strife? What are demonic influences that I have in my house that could be aiding this kind of demonic communication culture? I gotta also seek for their intentions. Did they really mean that? I know that person. I know they wouldn't have said it like this. Let me go ask them. I'm gonna seek for their intentions. What did you mean by that? Before I speak how I really feel, I'm gonna seek their intentions. Before I say how I really feel, can you tell me what you meant by this? I promise you, if you do that, as far as seeking their intention first, hey babe, what did you mean by that? Because I kind of took it like this. Oh, babe, my bad. I was in a rush. I ain't mean to say it like that, babe. I'm so sorry. I ain't mean to say it. Go to her and be like, you know what? Did you really mean this when you said this? Oh, babe, I'm sorry. I was just so frustrated and so tired. I didn't know I said it like that. Before you speak how you feel, seek what they intended. Next, come down from your emotional peak. P is for peak. S is for seek. Come down from your emotional peak. Before you speak, see how high you are emotionally. Before you speak, am I infatuated with this person? Am I infatuated in love with this person? Look at the shirt. Shirts are available now. You can get these shirts right now at IamUnplugged.com. Love is not blind. Infatuation is. You can tell by the site chart. Love is not blind. You see love very clearly. Infatuation is. But if you feel infatuated, before I speak that I love this person, am I too infatuated with them? Before I speak wrath and anger about them, let me calm myself down. Are you able to come down from your emotional peak? Next, for E, feel empathy and empty out all resentment. Before you speak, feel empathy. I'm going to consider their background. I'm going to consider their father wasn't there. I'm going to consider that their mother wasn't there. I'm going to consider the church they was brought up in. Some people, their theology may not match theology because of the church they've been in. You know what I'm saying? You can't be all doctrinal sound to a person that's a babe. You know what I'm saying? You over there trying to feed steak to a 2-month-old. It's going to kill them. You got to feel empathy. Why did they say it like that? Why am I feeling this way? Who are they really? Feel empathy. And empty out all resentment. Before you speak to them, is there any resentment from your past that's ruining your relationship now? So many people, you talk the way you talk. You really mad at your ex, and you talking to your next from a place of your ex. See, so most people ruin their next, and their next become another ex because they're still speaking from what their ex did. Don't mess up your next because you speaking from a resentful place of your ex. Man, you got to get that resentment out your heart so that you don't ruin your next. Not necessarily your next person, but the next phase that God wants to bring you towards. Your next season, your next place of health, wealth, and prosperity. Your next season of joy in the Holy Ghost. You know what I'm saying? Don't ruin your next because you still got resentment from an ex situation, an ex person. You got to empty out of all resentment. One, I'm going long, but it's good. I'm going long, but it's good. Next, for A, you have to acknowledge your potential wrongs. Before you speak, I got to acknowledge, was I wrong? Maybe I did this. You know, a good person just doesn't react a certain kind of way if there was no involvement of you. I'm talking about a good-hearted person, a sound person, a smart person doesn't react certain kind of ways if there's no play of the other person. It's okay to humble yourself and say, let me acknowledge myself. How could I have contributed to this? How could I have contributed of leading her on, or for you ladies leading him on? Or how could I have contributed to this person being quiet and silent around me? Am I creating a culture of tension and confusion, a culture of concern? Could I be involved? K, kneel and pray and display an act of kindness before speaking. Before I speak to this person, let me go to God and pray. And until I hear from God, until I feel sensitive, until I've come down from my emotional peak, I'm going to continue being kind to that person when I see them. I'm going to continue to display acts of kindness. I'm going to fake it till I make it in my kindness. I'm going to dig deep into the Spirit of God to make me naturally want to do it. Before you speak, kneel and pray. And before you speak to them, do something kind to them. Because doing something kind may soften your heart before you speak. Now, while you listen, notice the same words that spells listen spells silent. The same words that spells listen spells silent. So while you listen, number one, let. L is for let. Let them talk. Let them talk. And man, I have been guilty of that in my relationship. I'm telling you, it took a long time for me to let her talk. I'm such a logical person, man. I've programmed my brain. My brain is so logical and analytical that I can capture fallacies in people's statements. And I'd be like, but that's wrong. Like that don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? And versus letting them talk, letting her talk until it becomes of sense. You see what I'm saying? Until I sense the sense. I'm over there trying to find the fallacies and try to be right because I'm logical. It doesn't make sense. What are you trying to say? Versus saying, let her talk until you can sense the sense in what she's trying to say. I used to be that kind of guy, and I've gotten a whole lot better. And I'm endeavoring to get a whole lot better. But boy, my brain be picking things. And I have to say, no. Let her talk. Let her talk. Let her talk. Let them talk, ladies. Let her talk. In ministry with your congregants, if you're a pastor, really let them talk. Let them express. Because in letting them talk, you'll begin to learn how they really feel. And you begin to learn the angles you need to take into your future communications with them. I is for intentionally listen. Intentionally listen. Be involved. Intentionally. I'm getting better at that. We all getting better. Listen, I'm working on it. I'm not perfect in all of my communications. I do well, but man, that's all of us got room to grow. And intentionally listening it can be drowning at times. But both parties have to understand when is the best time to give certain communications. Because when I'm tired, I'm no good. When I'm hungry, I'm no good. You know what I'm saying? When I've come from a long day, I'm no good. But it doesn't matter. If the love of your life needs for you to listen, you got to say, I'm going to intentionally listen. Or be communicative enough, or communicate where you say, you know what, babe, let me get a sandwich first. I'll listen, but let me get a sandwich first. Communicate that. That's okay. Hey, babe, let me get a 30-minute nap. You know what I'm saying? Babe, let me just sit down. Let me just get myself together. Let me go take a shower. Because I need to calm myself down. Because if I'm not in a certain place, if I don't at least got a morsel of bread in my mouth and a splash of water on my body after the shower, and I haven't been relaxed, it's going to be hard for me to intentionally listen. Allow that person to position themselves to intentionally listen. And if you're not in a place to intentionally listen, it's okay to communicate. Hey, babe, let's grab something to eat. Let's sit. Let me take a shower. I just got home. Next, for S, cipher through and seek to understand, no matter how tough it may be. Cipher through. You know what I'm saying? Like me, I gotta cipher through and seek to understand. Sense the sense. Sense the sense that they're trying to make. When a person's sad, they're not gonna understand all these things. You just gotta be wise and say, okay. What are they really trying to say? Let me sense the sense of the matter, and then I can change this from ever happening again from this angle. Next, for T, wait your turn. Wait your turn. Wait your turn. It goes with let them talk. Wait your turn. Next, for E, control your emotions through empathy. As they're talking to you, you may be feeling like, man, I ain't mean it like this. I ain't mean to hurt you like this. Finding in your heart of empathy, of understanding them and saying, you know what? I'm going to control my emotions because I love you, really. You got to find the facts. I'm here because I love you. And I'm going to hold my emotions back. And it's not easy. Listening is not easy. But when we begin to grow in our communication, you as a single, me as a married man, you as a married woman, you in a relationship, whether cloud, cement, or corporation, as we work on this as a village, as a family, we will begin to be a better asset to our relationships. If we just say, I'm going to control my emotions and seek to understand through empathy. N, hear and meet their needs. Once you done listened, the best response is, okay, I got you, I'm on it. There are some times where you have to say, you have to clear up. Hey, and for the person speaking, you gotta allow that person to have their turn. And when you have your turn, make sure, since because you done controlled your emotion, you done settled in your empathy, now you're able to say, babe, I didn't mean it like that. Oh, I didn't mean to say it like that. I didn't mean to lead you on that area. My apologies. Or whatever. But sometimes the best response is, okay, I got it. I'm going to make this change in this area. My fault. Next time I'm going to be a little bit more attentive to your needs. Hear and meet their needs. And sometimes their needs may feel like it's in the midst of weeds. But when you will find the wheat in those weeds, you may have heard all these different things, but trust me, there's a wheat there. There's a genuine need there. And when you sense the sense and you find the need, you can be able to help the relationship. Now, my final thoughts, an hour and 25 minutes. Final thoughts, but I pray this podcast was good. The communication sandwich, I already told you about that. Celebrate, critique, celebrate. I already covered that. Let's keep going. Next point, you must always endeavor to be on the same word, in the same sentence, on the same page in your relationship. When it comes to relationships, you gotta work at making sure you on the same word, in the same sentence, on the same page. Be on the same page not good enough. You can be on the same page and still not connect. You gotta be on the same word, on the same sentence, on the same page, or you gonna always find yourself confused. Are we on the same page? No. The real question is, are we on the same word, in the same sentence, on the same page? Because there's a lot of these in the page. There's a lot of words. There are a lot of same words, similar words on a page, but they're not all in the same sentence. You may be in the word in the first sentence of the page, but that person has matured to the bottom part of the page, but you have yet to get the middle part, which is the understanding. And that's what happens with communication. That's what needs to be in communication. Certain pages of life, you're gonna have to fight to be on the same word, and it's gonna take the person who's up here to work hard to come to this place of maturity to eventually get in the same sentence with the person down here. And this person who's down here has to be humble and kind enough and gracious enough to allow that person to navigate the page to eventually catch up with you on the same word and then go forward. Don't keep reading if the person is still behind. Don't keep reading. Stay on your word and say, I'm going to stay on this word of God right here. I'm going to stay right here. And I'm not going to move forward until I have prayed my wife to this place, until I've prayed my husband to this place, until we get to the same word. Then we can go to the next chapter of our life. Man, you can't just be on the same page and make it. No. Are we on the same word? When you in class and the teacher's reading and the student is following along, you don't know when you don't know when the teacher's going to call your name. And if you on page 47 and she's on page 49 because you done dozed off and fell asleep in class, when she calls Jimmy, finish the next paragraph, and you're lost, that's what happens in a lot of relationships. When it's time for you to be called on, you're not able to respond. A relationship is all about response time. It's all about saying, I'm here with you. I'm on the same word. We on the same beat. We on the same drum. We in step. We in sync. And that takes work. It shouldn't take a lifetime though. If you're intentional, if you're willing, you guys can be on the same word in the same sentence on the same page. Next point. You must be open to communicate everything. You can't be in a relationship and not willing to communicate everything. There's no hiding in relationship. There's no, I'm not going to communicate everything. You must be open and willing to communicate everything. And if not, don't put yourself in situations that you will not want to communicate. It's that simple. If you don't want to communicate that you cheated, don't cheat. If you don't ever want to communicate that you did something, then don't do it. But you still have to make sure you communicate everything. And when you have that accountability and you have that honor of God, you will avoid things that you don't want to communicate. If you don't want to hurt somebody, if you don't want to communicate that you're cheating, don't cheat. If you're doing something you know that you don't want to communicate, don't do it. It's best to stay committed to a person when they don't see you than to find yourself to have to communicate a matter because you got caught up. Listen, the best way not to lie is not to put yourself in lying positions. Don't lie down in lies because you're going to have to eventually communicate. And so many people, they set themselves up. They get into these situations and now they got to communicate because whatever is hidden in the dark will come to the light. And God has given grace to people. And it's best to tell the truth early. Because it's better to suffer the consequence of a truth told in its time than to suffer the consequence of a lie that's found out. It's best to tell the truth when the truth is at its time than to be forced to tell the truth when a lie has been exposed. I pray this message has been a blessing to you. I have an activity for you. Your next sheet, for those who haven't downloaded, you can download it now. Before you speak sheet. This is before you speak sheet. Utilize this sheet to process your thoughts and how you plan to communicate a concern, expectation, etc. It's simple. Who do you plan to talk to? Write their name to the side. What are you planning to say? Write down what you're trying to say. And if it's not enough room, get another sheet of paper. When are you planning to say it? Put a date and a time and be committed to it. Where are you planning to say it? Write down where you plan on saying it. Why do you need to say it? Write down the reasons why you need to say it. How will you say it? Write down, you know what, I'm going to say it this way. These are my angles. I consider their triggers, their thoughts, their theories, their truths. This is how I'm going to say it. To what extent are you going to say it? I'm just going to give myself 10 minutes to say this, 20, 30 minutes. To what extent? I'm not going to go another day, 2, 3, 4 days talking about this. Have you sought inside? If so, how do you truly feel about the matter? Have you sought inside? Remember I said seek inside? Next point, are there any potential demonic interferences? I want you to write down, is there a demon at work? What are their true intentions? Before I even say anything, I'm going to just go to ask them, what are your intentions about this? Write that down. Do you have any empathy for the person? Why or why not? If there's no empathy, then get rid of the relationship. If you're single, you know? If friendship, get rid of it. Have you came down from emotional peak? Yes or no? Have you acknowledged your potential wrongs and mishandlings? If so, what are they? Yes or no? Have you taken the time to kneel and pray about the matter? Yes or no? If applicable, what acts of kindness do you plan to commit? Write those things down. Let me tell you this about relationships. Commitment in a relationship is not proven in the presence of the person that you're committed to. True commitment is proven when that person's not around. Can you be committed when that person's not even around? If you can't be, what's the point of showing off your wife and showing off your relationship publicly online, doing all that stuff when you know probably not, when you know in dark areas in your life you're not truly committed? I just want to put that there for what I said earlier. I want to make sure I elaborate there. Go through these exercises. Take some time. You can print this sheet over and over again for every person you plan on communicating to, because this helps you process your words. And you'll be like, you know what? This ain't even worth communicating. You'll throw the paper away. Or you'll be able to say, you know what? I've softened my words. I've cooled off my words. I've chewed my words. I've processed them. Now I'm able to deliver it in a way that they can receive it. Thank you so much for listening, watching the podcast. If you want to support, you can. You can support by giving at the website below. The link's in the description box below. For those watching live, if I'm available, last Thursday I wasn't available. I had some things to take care of as far as my family. But I'll post in the chat box Or if once the video has posted, there's links in the description box below. There's links for you to get the card game, Dating Prep. A link for you to get the book, Dating Prep as well. Also a book for you if you got Soul Ties, a book that I wrote with Dating Prep, The Purpose of Freedom. You can also get this shirt, Love is Not Blind, Infatuation Is. Also got my other shirt from my popular video that took place, the Proverbs 31 Woman, the Infatuation is Blind shirt. That shirt's available on my site as well. Let's keep this movement going. Join my online community, datingpreppers.m as in Martha, N as in Nancy, .c as in Charlie, O as an opportunity. Sign up there. I post exclusive content there. You can get the worksheet there. Love you guys. Be blessed and keep prepping.